Good afternoon, it's Andy here. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for a few more people to join. Hi, Reese, have you just raised your hand? Yeah, we'll just give it another 30 seconds or so. So today's talk is going to be about project management. I'm hoping you can all see my screen. If there's a way of, or if you find that at any point that the presentation drops off or you can't hear me at all, then please do just maybe somehow write a comment in maybe the questions. So I'm hoping you can see my screen at the moment and hear me clearly as well. If there's any issues, as I say, just let me know. Okay, so just a quick little background to myself, really. So I'm Andrew Pritchard. I've been in, I suppose, the professional working career for about 8 years since leaving university. I went to university in Manchester. I'm actually living in Edinburgh at the moment, or just north of Edinburgh, in a place called Dalgety Bay. And I've travelled and worked around Europe and the States, but most of my work has been in the United Kingdom. Spent quite a bit of time down in London as well. So today's talk, you don't need to have any specific materials, but if you would like to have a notebook or anything ready to write down any questions you have, I believe there's also a question and answer tab that you could use, and I'll have it open here, and if anyone has any questions, then you're more than welcome to ask me anything, and I'll do my best to answer. But this presentation will be about 20 minutes long. I'll take you through my career to date, a few aspects of project management. I hope you find it interesting. It's been certainly an interesting career for me so far. And yeah, I look forward to presenting this to you, and thank you very much for your time. Okay, so key takeaways from this session. I've highlighted 3 here, and there may be more. And if you do get anything else from this, then yeah, that'd be really promising. So, number 1 is an understanding of the role of project management and how companies use project managers to actually solve their problems. The most effective PMs and the tools that they use, so Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint for articulating ideas, and some of the routes into the industry and the importance of saying yes to potential opportunities that come your way. And I've created a bit of an agenda for how do we actually get to those takeaways. So I'm going to take you through what actually is project management, and what will I be doing as a project manager. So on a day-to-day basis, how do I go about my day and my week, and create a bit of structure around it so I can be as successful as I can. And what are the personal qualities of project managers? And I won't just speak about my own experience here. I'll also speak about people that I've worked with in the past that I believe have been very, very successful. And the highs and lows of the role. and also what are the common tools used by project managers. And I'll take you through my career path and what does that look like to date, and what kind of training could be a good career path into project management. And finally, do you need to be any specialist about any particular subject? Okay, so I'll go through the questions on the right hand side. Okay, so what actually is project management? I was thinking about this earlier today, and I think it is bringing an initial idea to life through effective monitoring of people and plans. And I've put monitoring of people and plans rather than management, because I think management is probably a too strong a word for this. You're not really managing people. I think just monitoring people's behavior and their deliverables and monitoring plans is probably a softer way of phrasing it. Project management is used in nearly every industry. So I've got a couple of examples on the right hand side. So construction, things like bridges, buildings, anything that has to be built physically. Electrical, this is a big area as well. So going from huge buildings down to the microscopic electrical components. Manufacturing, and this is actually where I started out in the oil and gas industry. So the little image that you see here is subsea equipment, and it's for oil production, taking oil out of reservoirs beneath the sea and then pumping it up into like a holding tank before it goes to a rig. And then you've got IT systems as well, and that's currently where I work. So the project management is used to start off with an initial idea and actually bring it to fruition at the end. It uses skills and techniques which I believe enhance everyday life. So planning, communication, and consideration of others' needs as well. It's a very varied role. It's usually office-based. There will be site visits to different locations, especially in construction and manufacturing. So visiting suppliers, making sure that deliveries are arriving on time, and creating relationships with those suppliers as well. So, but most of the work is usually office-based and using computers. And it's typically a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday role, although I think more so in manufacturing and construction, there will probably be a need for project management expertise over weekends. But I'd say 95% of roles are Monday to Friday in project management. And a single project can last anywhere from, it can be tiny, maybe just a 1 month deliverable, through to 20 years. So over the next few slides, I'm just going to go into what I'm doing a bit more at the moment, which is down in the bottom right hand corner here, IT systems. Okay, I'll just check. Yeah, okay, we've got 12 participants. There's a message here, one in the chat. Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. All good. Okay, I'll carry on. So what will I be doing as a project manager? Typically in an organization, a project manager would be managing a team of between 3 and 10 people who have very different skills, and they bring different things to that particular project. So I like to have a team call with the whole team at least once a week, and this is to just bring everyone up to speed on what each person has been delivering, and I don't do much of the talking. I try and leave it up to the team to do that. But between 3 and 10 people, typically within a project team, and at its rawest level, then I'd say a project can be blocked up into 3 kind of key areas. And this is the mobilization, the monitoring and reporting, and the closing down of a project. So mobilization, and in my experience, this is the hardest, but actually the most fun bit. It's understanding what the deliverable is. So for example, are we building a bridge? Do we need to, is the end deliverable that we have a crossing from point A to point B? Is it maybe an IT system that needs to be put in that has a data warehouse located somewhere in maybe in Amazon Web Services cloud that needs to connect up to something else? Are we putting in a new telephone system? And if so, what are the complexities around that? So once we understand the deliverable, then we need to decide what skills will be required to deliver that. So as a project manager, then you're not expected to know all the detail. You're supposed to be able to be resourceful and pull in on different people and resources from around the organization, or suppliers included, to pull in the right people who know how to solve the more detailed problems. Ensuring that the team are agreed on the deliverable, a key point, so that everybody's aligned, and constructing a plan. And we can go into what tools are used in a couple of slides time. And also kind of key is costing up the deliverable as well. So an organization, for example, might want to put in a new telephony system. We need to know how much that costs, just so we can keep control of our budget. The monitoring and reporting is a bit more simple. It's once the plan is, the plan's now kicked off, so we're now delivering against the plan that we've already set. Yes, we can have hiccups along the way, but it's much more about stakeholder management, keeping them up to date, plan management, cost monitoring and management, and priorities as well. So just flexing people's resource and time around different priorities over that day, that week. And then lastly, it's about closing out the project. So documenting any lessons learned so that you can apply what you've learned from delivering that particular project into future. Closing out final project closeout reports, something that documents everything, how it went, and this might be used for audit purposes, especially when delivering projects to government organisations. And then just for you internally as a project manager, deciding what you want to do next based on your experience on that last project. Might you go into a different industry? Might you want to deliver a different system or a different piece of construction, or whichever industry you're in. So in the last few years, I've been focusing on IT and systems project management, and I think it's one of the most complex forms of project management. And this is only my opinion, because you can't physically see IT and data, and so the ability to manifest something out of nothing can be quite challenging. So it becomes very much about logically trying to make sense of something, which might seem very complicated at first. So working with a lot of architectural diagrams about how different systems might connect and how data transfers between one or the other. In IT and systems project management, IT and data will always be required and updated over time. And if anything, I think it's only going to accelerate over time as well, as more and more roles become automated, or we find more efficient ways of doing things with computer and digitally, and doing it faster that way as well to achieve cost savings in businesses. Then there'll always be demand there. So because there's always demand for the solution, then there'll be demand for someone to monitor that through, which comes from a project manager. Okay, personal qualities of project managers. I was thinking about this earlier today, and this isn't just thinking about myself, but I'm trying to think about who I've worked for in the past, who I'd regard as being a good project manager. And I think enjoying having a bit of structure in everyday life. And it don't have to be regimented to the minute planning, but just the willingness to create some sort of structure and organization around what you're doing every day. I'd say that project managers are typically forward-looking and enjoy thinking about the future. They enjoy communicating with others, for sure. So quite a lot of project management is about getting between 3 and 10 people into a room on what might typically be called a workshop and creating a plan. So those 3 to 10 people will be involved over the course of the project, but they'll get together to have a single planning session so that we can all agree on what is the approach to delivering something. The most effective project managers don't instruct people what to do, but they allow others to come up with the solution themselves, and they're more likely to be bought into the plan from doing that. Project managers also enjoy being challenged and aren't afraid to take on a new challenge and maybe move on to different projects or take on multiple projects at the same time. And I do truly believe that the skills I've gained from project management have increased the amount I've done in my own personal life as well. So just the amount I'm able to plan into weekends, I feel like I've got a lot out of that, but it hasn't made me a robot. Okay. Highs and lows. In any role, there are always highs and lows in any job, in any office, in any industry. So I'd say that the highs for me certainly are that you don't stop learning on the job. So it's always interesting. You'd never have 2 days the same. And this is because a project lifecycle it's linear. So you're going from the start of a project through to the end. And so you wouldn't have a repeat day of the last because you're in a different maybe phase or step of the project, or you're focusing on a different priority that day. You're always learning from people more technical than yourself. So a role of a project manager doesn't have all the technical skills to be able to deliver or build a bridge or design an IT system. They're pulling on the expertise of others. And so actually it's a really good opportunity to learn from business leading experts on materials engineering or metallurgy or chemical engineering, electrical engineering, IT and systems architecture. It allows you to create a real breadth of experience, which I've really enjoyed so far. And you work with a huge number of people as well. The lows, so the image on the right, yeah, I've had my head on the keyboard a few times, but stuff does go wrong. And although stuff goes wrong, it can be frustrating. It's more about how you manage it than actually reacting or getting internally frustrated about it. Other low points are when a new project is starting up, especially in large organizations, then you can get a bit of resistance from stakeholders about that project going ahead. That resistance, you kind of might not feel worthy at times, but then as long as you manage your stakeholders in the right way, then that should be managed effectively. Okay, common tools used by project managers. I've highlighted 3 here. So Excel and PowerPoint. It might sound strange that these tools that we all have maybe had an introduction to throughout our growing up, they're actually used in business every single day. Excel, just from kind of costing or being able to do simple maths, but PowerPoint is by far every project manager's ideal tool for creating visuals, helping others understand plans, organization charts, roles and responsibilities. It's a really powerful tool for just getting others to be bought into how the structure of the project's going to work. And then there is another tool called Microsoft Project, which could be used for actually creating a detailed plan as well, but it's not the most visually appealing tool. So it might be that you create a detailed plan in Microsoft Project, but then actually present it using PowerPoint, or create a more visual friendly template using PowerPoint. So in terms of what you could start doing in the short term, if you're interested in project management or even any career, is actually becoming more and more proficient at Excel and PowerPoint will be hugely beneficial in the long run. I can't see those tools disappearing from the day-to-day role of anybody, at least for the next 10 years. They are very powerful tools, and the faster and more efficiently you use them, then the more wisely you can use your time. Okay, what could a career path look like? And I say, what could a career path look like? This is by no means the way to go about it. There are many routes, but I'd say for anyone that's maybe 18 or below, then work experience, is it possible to get involved in any work in any organization over holidays, just to become familiar with things like processes and the tools used in different organizations, but also different businesses have really quite a complex lingo. So there'll be a lot of business words that are used, so becoming familiar with those will be good. You could do a business-related degree or a graduate scheme, and then try and take on a full-time role at your place of work experience if possible. Support work in an organisation, so this might be supporting a project manager and becoming a project coordinator. Business analyst as well, they support and they're part of the project team, especially in IT, and process analysts. And this is where organisations will pay for your training and skills. And I'd say maybe 3 years of experience from project coordination and business analyst type roles. You could go for project management roles, and this is a good transition because you'll have been aware or witnessed and had a project manager as a team member for quite some time, and you might want to step into that position. And then beyond, which is beyond where I am now, but program manager, business owner, and delivery consultants. Okay. So my career path to date has been, I did a degree in logistics, a business studies related degree. I went into a graduate scheme and joined the oil and gas industry, and I was there for about 3 years. And then I went into consultancy in IT systems, and that was based on my experiences from oil and gas industry. And I actually worked for a consultancy which gave me exposure to various clients. And I think consultancies are really good at giving you a lot of experience in a very short space of time, as well as being introduced to quite a few large organizations that might that have all these complex IT systems to fix and work on. In 2018, I actually then went into self-employment and had 2 clients of my own. And so I actually left the consultancy at this point and pursue a career being self-employed. And then 2020 and beyond, I'm actually thinking, well, maybe the skills that I've built up from project management, where might that lead? I could go into program management, or maybe set up a proper business and just use the skills and time management expertise that I've built up over that time. So skills and qualifications I've gained: business leadership in theory at degree level. That was really useful. In my first job, learned a lot about systems and IT and small projects and how to efficiently organize your processes. And then in the consultancy, I actually gained what's called a Prince 2 qualification, which is you become a qualified project manager, which was quite a hard qualification to get. I found it really quite hard. It's about 5 days of intense training with an exam at the end. And although you don't have to run a project using that method every single time, it's just allows you to have the logical theory, and you can pull from that whenever you need. Okay, do I need to be a specialist from the outset? No, you don't. You don't need to be a specialist in a particular industry to move into project management. As I mentioned slightly earlier, it's all about the kind of soft people skills rather than the hard technical skills. A project manager is able to pull on the technical resources, but doesn't fulfill the role of the technical expert from the outset. It's about how do we monitor and manage project plans rather than providing all the answers and doing all the work ourselves, because you just become inefficient if you're trying to take on too much yourself. Okay, key takeaways. So an understanding of project management and how companies use project managers to solve their problems. Project managers are used to focus on an end deliverable and then deliver that through to the end, keeping it in aligned with the time and cost which was estimated at the start of the project. And the most effective PMs are, I believe, masters of Excel and PowerPoint, just because they're quickly able to get their ideas down onto paper and then communicate those out to the stakeholders and get buy-in from stakeholders around the organization. And then we've been through some routes, and I will just add this on at the end, that I think it's important to say yes to opportunities, regardless of what it is, regardless of the the industry, I think getting started with something and then deciding that maybe it's not right for you and then moving into something else, rather than saying no to an opportunity is more important. I think just get started with something and then it will lead on to bigger and better things. Okay, I'm just going to click on Q&A. Do you use a system to manage your project? Okay, love this. Right. Yes, I've used a few. I've used a few tools, especially in the oil and gas industry. So we used a system called SAP. SAP is a huge materials resource planning system, and it's quite complex, but it allows you to manage the timescales of the project, all the costs, and it's a huge auditable system. And it's used for when you're manufacturing lots of smaller components. So yeah, the organizations, they already have these in place. So as a project manager, you'd be expected to pick up a specific tool or a system fairly quickly. But a lot of my projects have just been managed on Excel and PowerPoint because it's all about communication. So I've not been put off or worried about which system I'm necessarily using. It's more about, can you get people bought into a particular plan? There is a system which is getting used more and more called Jira, and Jira is used in what's called a more agile project, and especially in IT and software development projects, and then Jira is used, and Jira is spelled J-I-R-A. Okay. So just give it another couple of seconds for any more questions, but if there isn't anything else, oh, here we go. Can you really project manage any production without any prior knowledge of the product? Okay, so when going into a brand new organization, then so can you really manage any product? So I'd say you could, because it's unlikely that it's the first time that product's going to be made by that organization. I think project management, there'll be something that you can pull on from previous projects or deliverables in the past. And earlier I mentioned that project managers should be really writing up about their project or some sort of project report at the end of it. And that should provide some pretty good documentation and helpful processes that have been done before that you can use in again. So, a few more questions. Okay. So roughly how much did you earn when starting out, and how much do you earn now? Okay. So when I started out, so I graduated in 2012. I went on to a business management graduate scheme. I started on 26K. And then when I was so I'd moved, stayed there for 3 years, and then I think salary went up to about 33K in those 3 years. I then moved into the consultancy. Salary dropped slightly when I moved into that, but then progressed upwards quite quickly to about 45. And then since becoming self-employed, then I'm able to set my own rate based on what that client needs and how many days per week I'm doing. So I charge a day rate instead, but that can be a couple of £100 a day or higher. Just to put some into perspective how much some program managers can earn, then it can be huge. So well, in my view, quite large. So I know that program managers typically about 120,000 if they're in employed positions. But I have had a boss who's been a program manager who was on £950 per day, but he was self-employed. Okay, what's your favourite project that you've worked on? Favourite one, I think it's probably one of my first ones, and it's in the oil and gas industry, implementing an improved a solution to so materials coming into a factory that needed to be quality checked and audited. And we were using an area of SAP which had never been used before. So we're exploring a new module to implement there. and it was only a 6-month project, but the people I was working with really enjoyed it. It was one of my first projects as well, so could really use like the tools and processes that I'd learnt to date, put them into effect. And yeah, I did enjoy seeing um, the physical thing being used as well. So because I spent quite a bit more time in that organisation, so it's good to see the tool that I implemented being used successfully. Quite a few questions. Do you like your job? Yes. Yeah. Yes, I do. Because it's varied every day. Okay, yes, there can be stresses in it, but and you can sometimes think that you've had a terrible day, but the longer you do it, you actually realise that it's not really how you well, it is how you feel at the end of the day, but as long as you believe that you've managed it in the most effective way and you haven't insulted anybody or disappointed anybody, then that's all you can ask of yourself. But yeah, it is a soft people skill. I enjoy that side of things. I really enjoy it. What sector would you? Oh, I'll just jump to Florence actually. So, when have you been a manager? When have you been a manager? How were you? How were you? So a manager of projects. I've been doing it since 2013. So I'll have been about 23, 24 at that time. I'm 30 now. And how were you a manager? So I went through the just natural kind of career progression, and I made the decision to move around careers and organizations quite quickly. There are some people that like to stay in the same organization, but I like to get experience across lots of organizations. So my own personal mantra is saying yes to opportunities. So if another organization asks for some assistance, then I'm more than happy to give it. I think I'll keep going with questions, guys, because these are really good ones that are coming in, if that's all right. What sector would you recommend? Any sector, get involved. I think it probably helps to be involved in sectors that have a physical deliverable at first before moving into IT and systems. But if you're IT orientated and you like working with programming and how data moves between systems, then yeah, that could be a way to go. And okay, what don't you like about your job? Well, I think that the hardest thing is when you get resistance from other areas of the organisation that maybe don't agree with the project that you're doing, and also some of the resources or some of the people that are working within your team, then they can often be, I'm going to say, pinched by other projects going on around the business. If the subject matter expert that you're dependent on to deliver your deliverable and make progress is needed somewhere else in the business, then they might be used elsewhere, which only puts your own project at risk. What do you need to get in GCSE to become a PM, or does it not matter? I don't think it matters. It's more about competency and experience on the job. But obviously, everyone needs to be working hard in school and getting the best grades you can to, if you do just decide to go to university, that you get into the university that you want. You know, that problem doesn't go away, guys. Sorry. But yeah, I'd say like a business related GCSE, or like kind of aligning your subjects to move into a business related business studies course at university would be a good way to go. Okay, Tristan, what would achieve higher demand and salary so for example, if I have an MBA degree only, or if I have a specialized qualification in IT, finance sector, and then go on top, I have an MBA degree. Sorry, just want to pause on this. If I have an MBA degree only, or specialized, okay. Ooh. Okay. No, this is good. So, So I think what this question is do you build all the skills first using an MBA and then apply it to professional work, or get the experience and then top it up with an MBA, what will achieve a higher salary? Now, I totally get why you're asking the question, because when I was the age of between 18 and 26, then I was all about focusing on salary and just trying to get that as high as possible. I've not done a master's, but I would say in the current climate, if you can afford to do an MBA, and if you can afford to do an MBA and get some expertise at the same time, I'd say go for it. But typically, I think getting experience, or at least doing something, even if it's a couple of days a week, or trying to get into maybe your parents' work or offices, or just see if there's any work experience you can get from that. Nothing. I think experience is a really valuable thing. And there will probably be a point at which the education that you're going through, it'll be maybe a lot of theory, but how applicable is it to the real world? So it's a bit of both. I think it does require a lot of thought, and I don't really have the answer because I'm not up to MBA standard. But all I will say is that experience and time on the job is important. Okay. I think that's all the questions. Okay, yeah. Oh, is it difficult to change career the more you progress? I'd say it's easier. Yeah, I'd say it's easier, and because as you progress, then and you earn slightly more money, then it gives you more financial freedom to then choose what you'd like to do. So I would say that at the start of your career, just say yes to any opportunity just to get onto some sort of conveyor belt of progression. But does it become more difficult to change? No, I don't think it does. You can certainly move from project management, I believe, into many other different roles and sectors. And this is down to the type of behaviors that a project manager has to demonstrate. So time management, communicating with people, the various tools that you use day to day, the achieving buy-in of stakeholders into plans. These are all qualities that we use in any office environment or any work environment. I shouldn't say office. Okay, and how easy is it for you to create flowcharts in PowerPoint? Okay, so yeah, I showed a couple of examples of like Gantt charts and org charts. In PowerPoint, it's really easy, and I always start out with a blank canvas every single time and just draw boxes and arrows and color them the right way. I've not really used templates, and I don't use the PowerPoint template flowcharts too much. I just start with a completely blank canvas every time. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but at least you get to demonstrate exactly what you want and get out of it what you want. So yeah, easy for me to do. I've done it many times. Okay, so we're going over time a bit, but I think there's been some really good questions there. I hope that's been helpful. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing the presentation now, but just thank you all for your time. It's been a pleasure to speak to you, and catch up with you soon. Thank you.